And welcome back to the Paul Gallo Show. I'm Mandy Gunasegura, guest host for today's program here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and we are broadcasting live in front of the Sally Kate Winters Family Services building, and I'm excited to be joined by our first interview of the morning with Stephen Woodruff Jr. Woody?
That's correct.
Yeah, Woody. All right. Well, welcome. It's so great for you to be here. And Woody is a member of the Board of Directors for Sally Kate Winters Family Services. He also has a very impressive background in law enforcement, began at the Alcorn County Sheriff's Department, if my research is correct.
It's another life ago.
Another life ago. Well, and when he's not working with the Sally Kate Services, he is an investigator for the District Attorney's Office in the 16th Circuit, which covers Lowndes, Clay, Oktibbeha, and Noxubee.
Correct.
Did I get it right? Okay. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. And just want to start with how is it that you became involved with the Sally Kate Winters Family Services organization?
Well, I first became acquainted with Sally Kate Winters whenever I was working with the Bureau of Narcotics in this community. Whenever we would come across a drug-endangered child or something like that, be working a meth lab or something like that, children would have to have a place to go. And if they didn't have family members, this organization is where that they would end up. And it was just a safe haven for them to come out of a terrible environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you're exposed to just some of the worst that humanity has to offer to this world, and you come across kids. How important is that there's a place like Sally Kate Winters Family Services for them to go and to stay?
Well, we kind of take for granted with our own children, and probably the people who are listening to this, we take for granted that our children have a safe environment to grow up in and a safe place to go home to. And a lot of the times when you go to a crime scene or things like that, you're really exposed to what some children have to grow up in and what they don't have. Just the small necessities, a roof over their heads or food to eat. And, this place provides all of that whenever their parents aren't.
Yeah, well, it's important for them to when they feel like they have no place to go, they can come here. Now, what drew you to pursue a career in law enforcement?
I absolutely have no idea. 22 years ago, I started riding with a deputy friend of mine, and it was fun. And I remember the first call we went on, it was a terrible situation where there were kids in the house, and he wouldn't let me get out of the car. And I ended up getting out of the car, and I saw what was going on in there, and I've been doing it ever since, 22 years.
Wow, that's a wonderful service to the community, and then two, something that I think generally we take for granted. Could you talk a little bit about the work that you do as an investigator over at the District Attorney's Office?
Well, at the District Attorney's Office, we get all of the cases from any of the local departments. All of the cases come to our office. We review cases, and I'll focus more on the child abuse cases. Any child abuse case, or whether it's physical, sexual, or anything like that, they come to our office, and the cases have been worked up through the law enforcement realm, and all of the children have been interviewed here. And that's one of the major goals is all of the forensic interviews for children are done at one place, and it's done one time. And that way the children only have to tell their story one time. And the people here are actually trained to interview children in a way that law enforcement aren't. They're not trained. Law enforcement are trained to interview suspects of crime, obviously, but to interview a child, it's completely different.
Yeah, and so the people here, not only is it's a little bit different environment, you're at a home, not necessarily at a police station, but you're also around people who they're used to interacting with children who are in a pretty sensitive situation.
Absolutely. The interview room here is set up like a little parlor for them. It's got a soft chair, soft walls, and things like that. It makes them feel more comfortable instead of a stale cinder block room with folding chairs and just a metal table. It's actually a comforting, inviting environment for them to sit and tell their story.
Now, child abuse isn't something that we necessarily want to talk about, and it's something that in a place like Mississippi, a state where, you know, it's a pretty happy place. You know, people are generally positive. To what extent is child abuse a problem, either in this county or the areas that you work in, or the statewide?
It's a growing problem, and I think I say it's a growing problem. I think it's just more exposed now.
Yeah.
We've got more ways to communicate it. You know, with social media, we see it happening more often. Where it's probably happened in the past, we just have it's more out in the open now. It's more of a problem than people really realize that it is. It's more of a problem than I realized as a road cop, you know, years ago. It's more of a problem than a narcotics investigator. Whenever you actually see the paperwork put down, you know, it's a growing problem.
Well, thank you for the work that you do, for the 20-plus years service that you've brought to the local community, and for working with the Sally Kate Winters Family Services organization.